Hi, and welcome along to AFTV News Daily. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world watching us right about now. It's great to have you on board. Hope you're all doing well today as we navigate this coronavirus crisis that is taken over the whole world. Would you believe it? But it's taken over the whole world. I don't think there's practically nowhere in the world that hasn't been affected by the coronavirus, and it's going to involve a world effort to solve it. That's what it's going to involve. Is the world's got to come together to find a vaccine for this so that we can finally defeat the coronavirus. But we will defeat it. I'm 100% convinced of that we will get through this whole situation. And seeds of optimism when it comes to football, which is, the sport that we love. We were Arsenal supporters, or there's even people on here today that are supporters of other clubs that have come to enjoy the content. But we are supporters and lovers of football. And I don't think there's nothing more that anybody would like to see that is watching this right now than football return under a safe environment so that we can start watching the sport that we love. And news that in the Bundesliga over there in Germany, that football is going to be returning. The news coming out yesterday from the Chancellor Merkel, who's in charge over there, that football will resume this month behind closed doors. So that is absolutely fantastic news for everybody in Germany who follows football, that it will be returning. Now, there will be no fans. It will be behind closed doors. So no fans will be at the games. And we know that Germany is a place just like over here in the UK where football is well supported. All the games in the Bundesliga are packed. They've got brilliant support, all of the teams. You see there, Bayern and Dortmund, two examples of fantastic support of football teams over there in Germany, as they all are. But it will be behind closed doors to begin with. And it's great news for everybody over there in the Bundesliga. Now, they're watching movements in the Bundesliga very closely over here in the UK. I was chatting to somebody yesterday, very close to Arsenal, who was telling me that, the Premier League are watching what is happening over in the Bundesliga. If that goes successfully, then they are looking to follow suit and get the Premier League started. There is a bit of a difference. I mean, I'll get onto that in a second, but just to remind you as well that one of the things that they put in place in the Bundesliga is they've carried out extensive testing of all the players and staff and everybody involved in getting it started. Now, they carried out 1,724 tests and they've had back 10 positive results. So positive results, no positive results are good. But out of all that, they got back 10 positive results, but they've still deemed it safe that they can continue. They've isolated those people. They've found out who they've been in contact with contact tracing, but they have still deemed that it is safe to play. Now, one of the big differences between what's happening over there in Germany and what's happening in the UK is the fact that, in Germany, there's been 7,000 cases or 7,000 deaths so far from coronavirus. In the UK, we've got the worst amount of cases in Europe, 30,000 and counting, unfortunately, have passed away because of the coronavirus. And when you look at the UK, in comparison to all the other countries across Europe, it just appears like we've got something horribly wrong, or we've been very unlucky. I don't know what it is, right? A lot of people think it's the first thing I said, but we haven't got it as under control over here as they have in Germany. We're behind them. As a matter of fact, Germany is one of the countries in Europe that have tackled this the best because they had testing and tracing and all that from very early out. But we are looking at the Bundesliga and we are looking to try and, follow in the footsteps of what they have done. So let's see how that one turns out. It's very interesting, actually, that yesterday, Raul Sanelli, he did a talk with the Arsenal Forum, and they were asking him a lot about these sort of issues, and especially transfers. Of course, transfers is something that always arises when you're talking to football fans. And Raul Sanelli sort of talking about how the landscape has really changed with transfers this season. And again, reiterating to the fans that don't expect to see big transfers happening this summer. It's just not going to happen. It's very interesting. I don't know if you've got a chance to watch the show last night. If you haven't, you can watch it back. The show with me and Chris Hudson. And Chris, who I know, is a guy that, you know, he's one of the first people to ring me up, or we'll be chatting and he'll be like, Robbie, man, we need to buy this player or that player or that. But even Chris last night was like, hey, you know what? We all need to get realistic here. These big signings are not going to happen because of the crisis that's going on. And we have to accept that. And we have to all come together on this. And he is in agreement that there shouldn't be these big signings. It's interesting today, even that you read that teams like Man United, where, you know, obviously their number one target this summer was Jadon Sancho. Now they're pulling back on that. They're starting to say, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Can we spend £100 million on one player in this current climate? Again, one of the things Chris spoke about last night, is that morally right when people are having to go through pay cuts, etc., that you do that? There's a lot of things that come into play. So, you know, Sanelli reminding everybody yesterday that don't look for big signings. However, also news coming out yesterday about our owner, Stan Kroenke. Now, according to some studies that have been done recently, and it was a study done by a publication called Billionaire Bonanza, they reckon Kroenke, who's currently worth 8.1 billion pounds, they're saying that his wealth has increased since the start of the year by 323 million pounds. And they also went on to say that his wife, who's the Walmart heiress, that her revenue has increased as well by a further 97 million pounds. So, you know, a lot of fans have looked at that and have said to themselves, well, hold on a minute. You've had an increase in money, right? So why can't you put your hand into your pocket and donate more money? Now, he, again, Raul Sanelli reiterated it yesterday and said that he has put his hand into his pocket to help out and help the club through this crisis. But again, there's no word on whether that's I mean, it certainly doesn't look like that is anything to do with transfers. It looks like it's more to do with the day-to-day running of the football club. But it has got a lot of fans again wound up saying, you know, this guy's wealth has increased. I have to say, and I think we should look on it like this, right? That study they're saying is increased since the start of this year. Now, obviously, that doesn't take into account what's going on now. And there's a lot of very rich people who've lost money. I saw the other day that even, you know, some of these billionaires have been selling shares and have lost, you know, have had like lots of their wealth wiped out by this coronavirus because of they've got money invested in various things. And, you know, obviously the value of those things have dropped. So they've, you know, so that study was done at the start of the year. And I think it's a little bit unfair. And this is me, I don't often back Stan Kroenke, but I think it's a little bit unfair because if 323 gained at the start of the year, that doesn't take into account what's going on now. He must have taken a serious hit with what's going on now. He must have investments. He's got, you know, he's involved with the LA Rams and all these various things. So I'm sure that 323 would have disappeared with all what's going on. But listen, it's out there today and it's got fans wound up. They're very angry about it. They're reckoning that he can put his hands into his pocket and he can bail us out of it. Henrik Mkhitaryan, this one rumbles on as well. Again, I think everybody knows that he's a player that's surplus to requirements at Arsenal. He wants to go. He wants to go and stay at Roma, the club that he's on loan to at the moment. Roma said to, you know, they've openly come out and said that they want to buy him. The manager of Roma, chatting about a week or so ago on Russian TV saying that, yes, we want Mkhitaryan. We definitely want him. Arsenal said to have lowered their price to around about the 10 million mark to sell him. Originally, they wanted 20 million, but they just want to get rid of him now. Now, Roma, very cheekily, and again, is this cheeky or is this just the fact that there's not the money going around, are saying, well, we'll buy him for that fee, but pay half of the wages, Arsenal. Remember, he's on 180 grand a week. So I've never heard that before. We'll buy him, but you pay half the wages, which, of course, there's no way Arsenal are going to do that. I mean, could there be a return back to the Premier League and Arsenal for Mkhitaryan? You know, because, or will it be another year out on loan? You know, again, this just gives you and sums up all the problems there are at the moment. This is highly unusual circumstances and the money just isn't there. Prices of players seem to be coming down. Dayot Upamecano, you know, a week ago we were told he was on his way to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have gone cold on that. They said to have changed their transfer plans, and that's probably to do with what's going on as well with the coronavirus. Nobody's immune to it, even including a team as big as Bayern Munich. Upamecano's returned back to Leipzig and said to be, you know, he came out and said he's happy to stay at Leipzig. Leipzig now, according to rumors coming out of Germany, have lowered their price and are willing to take £35 million for Dayot Upamecano, which is a drop because before they wanted £53 million. For you, should we be going in and getting a player like him, even if that means selling some players? Would you sell Aubameyang to try and get Dayot Upamecano? Because certainly the money's not going to be readily available to do that. We'd have to sell somebody to get that done. But certainly that's what the reports are, that the price has been lowered on him and RB Leipzig willing to sell him for £35 million. What about Santi Cazorla? Coming out yesterday in an interview, they were talking to him over there in Spain, all about Arsenal. Of course, he's much loved there. You can see him there with Mikel Arteta in the FA Cup. Happy days when we won things, right? You know, good friends of Mikel Arteta, Spanish, both Spanish compatriots. And he was asked about a possible return to Arsenal and his love of Arsenal. And Santi come out and said, these are his quotes. He says, I don't know what my legacy is at Arsenal, Cazorla said. You have to ask the fans. But I want to thank everybody. I don't know what I will do next. Maybe a coach, maybe a sports director. But I would like to come back. So he'd love to come back to Arsenal. And I'd say, you know, he'd be very welcome back. And I don't know, I get the feeling he'd make a good coach because, you know, imagine him passing on, again, Chris was saying this last night, Chris Hudson, imagine some of the things that he could pass on to some of the younger players with all his ability. He was such a fantastic player. We still miss him. We still miss the ability of Santi Cazorla, just keeping things rolling there in that midfield. But could he be returning to Arsenal? Certainly, that was one of the failings I always felt under Arsene Wenger. He didn't bring back enough of the sort of great players that we had. So it'd be fantastic to get him back. Right, let's get into some of your comments. Lots of comments coming in. Jordan Henderson is the best player in the world. I love that guy's tag. He said, who will you all be supporting when the Bundesliga returns? That's it. We're going to have to jump on a Bundesliga club. I do have a little soft spot. I have in the past had a soft spot for Dortmund. Although Pogba says not Dortmund because Klopp was there. Because I've been to watch a Dortmund game and it was fantastic. But I also like that team Union Berlin. I like that team as well. I love their fans and everything over there. So yeah, I suppose we're gonna have to grab a little. You know, let's grab a little Bundesliga team for the time being. Anya Head says he's going to be supporting Leipzig, as I've got something to do with Dayot Upamecano, I'm sure. And Omar says he's going to be supporting Bayern, right? So everybody's going to have to grab a little second team until we get back. Lewis James says, what was the 12.5% pay cut for? Well, it was to help out around the club and to help out, you know, I think it's more to do with the general running of the club. But a lot of you are unhappy about this, the Stan Kroenke his money going up by 323%, which as I said, you've got to be careful in analysing this. Yusuf says, hi, Robbie, Stan Kroenke's worth grew by over 300 million. Will he inject now into our transfer budget? As I said, that report says at the start of this year. I'm sure that would have got wiped out. I'm sure that would have got wiped out. But listen, I don't know. I'm not his accountant, but I'm just saying that's at the start of the year. I'd be interested to know what it is now. He must have taken a hit. But a lot of you are not hearing that. Daily Smith says 12.5 is wrong. Ozil was right. This guy says everything coming out of United is directed solely at lowering transfer fees. United will invest, and given their conduct during the pandemic, there is no moral argument against it. United will invest, but be sure, United will not be investing in the same way as they have been doing. Be sure of that. They're already sort of pulling back on, Jadon Sancho links and things like that. I don't think many clubs are going to be making. Don't look to see any of these £100 million, £80 million transfers this summer. I just don't think it's going to happen. Patrick O'Connor says, Don Robbie, can you give a big shout out to all the AFTV fans at BT Belfast, keeping us sane while we keep the nation connected during these tough times. Big up to all you guys, man. Trust me, you know what? We was talking about this yesterday. Everybody, tonight at 8 o'clock, we'll all be clapping for the NHS, which we should do. And that's absolutely fantastic because the NHS and all those people to do with the NHS and support workers have done a great job. But I also think we should be clapping for some of these other people that have been doing, when we clap, it should also include, like, for instance, when you go to the shops, all those people working in the supermarket, they're on the front line. They're putting their life in danger, having to deal with everybody who comes into that shop day in, day out. So, they're doing a great, that guy there, he said he's still having to go to work at BT, and other people who are doing like certain jobs, transport, bus just drove past where I live, right? These guys are still having to work and they're still putting themselves right out there. So, there's a lot of people like that who are doing a fantastic job across the country, and they need to be commended as well. The delivery drivers who are doing all the, stuff for Amazon and, all those drivers, FedEx, DPD, they're doing a fantastic job, and they've been keeping the place going whilst we've all been in lockdown. So well done to all of those. The Blind Gooner says, I think we will have a successful transfer window, not a transfer window we all wanted, but I trust Mikel Arteta. I like how the way he wrote that, Arteta, right? Yes, it's going to be a different transfer window for sure. Martin, however, says, Kroenke is a plague of our club. Oof. He says, we have to get rid of him if we want to go forward. So simple as that. The board says we have no money to spend, but our owner making serious money. It's ridiculous. Well, as I said, I think just caveat that a bit, that was at the start of this year, his wealth crew. What would it look like now? He must have lost. That's what I think. This gentleman says, I will prefer Dortmund or Leipzig, because when you think of the beatings Bayern have given us over the past 2 years, it's a no-brainer. I was asking, well, it wasn't even me asking. There was one guy at the start who was saying, which German club are you going to jump on? Now that the German Bundesliga will be returning. And as I said, the plans are from the Premier League is to watch what the Bundesliga are doing. I've heard this from a very, very good source. They're going to watch what the Bundesliga are doing, and they hope to follow in the footsteps of that and get the league completed before the end of the season. Well, it's going to be an extended season, but get the league completed. And then, they're going to do it behind closed doors. There are plans in the future to try and play games with fans there as well. There's this thing been floated about having extended social distancing. So you, instead of having, say, 60,000 fans at the Emirates, you might start off with, say, 20,000 or 15,000 and just have, big spaces between where each fan sits. How they decide who those fans would be, I don't know. Maybe they'd select it and say, well, one set of season ticket holders for this game, one set for that game. I don't know exactly how they do it, but there is, talk of that. Anita says, Kroenke out. All these years, we thought it was Wenger. He was responsible for the downfall of his club. Also, the K-League is back tomorrow. That's the Korean League. So that's another league that is coming back. So I know over here sometimes there's a lot of doom and gloom. You see the All Guns Blazing podcast that I did with DT, and he was just like, we shouldn't come back. We should. And I was kind of going the other way and saying, listen, if it's safe, we should. You have to, at some stage, say, right, we're going to have to try and get things moving. We can't be under lockdown forever. You can't have furlough forever. The money will run out. So we got to try and this is sometimes it doesn't seem right to say these things because there are people dying. There are people suffering. But we have to have a plan where we're going to have to kind of live with this virus until we find a vaccine. And we're not going to be able to just be inside all the time. We're going to have to emerge and try and slowly get things back to normal. Royden says, Robbie, can you give a big shout out to my mates Selvin and Aaron from the Wolfpack? I would love to see Santi Cazorla back. I love him to bits. I'd love to see him as well. That's one of my favorite players that I met was Cazorla. Such a gentleman, such a genuine guy. Honestly, he is you look at him playing and you look at him always smiling, and he just has this persona of someone who's been such a nice guy. And then when you meet him, you're not disappointed. He's just like that. So it'd be fantastic to have him back. I'm so glad that his career, which looked like it was completely over, I'm so glad to see the way he bounced back. The mental strength of that guy, told his career's over, had all these horrible operations, goes to Villarreal, bounces back, gets back in the Spanish team at the age of about 32, 33. Absolutely inspiring, really is. Let's get another one. This is Gary Thompson. He said, I am a key worker and I have been tested for COVID-19 and waiting on the results now. Keep up the good work and come on, you Gunners. Listen, I hope it all works out. You guys are heroes. You guys are absolute heroes. It's got to be free tickets for some of these key workers as well. Once we do start getting football back to normal, I hope, I keep saying it, I hope that their work is not quickly forgotten. We've got a habit of bigging all these people up at times like this, and then as soon as everything's starting to return back to normal, they're quickly forgotten. So let's get into some more here. Balazs says, Robbie, do you think we should swap Mkhitaryan for Cengiz Under? Listen, I think that'd be good. Mkhitaryan is finished at Arsenal. He doesn't want to come back. There's no space for him if he does come back. So it makes sense if it was a swap deal to do the swap deal. But the sticking point is his wages. Cengiz Under is not going to be on the 180 grand a week. He's probably not even on a third of that. Charlie says, I love Santi. Would love to see him back. I named my dog after him. So I'll tell you, the guy Santi still carries a lot of love at Arsenal. And I think there'd be a lot of people would love to see him return back. Shawnee G says, I'm working within the NHS and sorry, but there is more to life than football. And he says, hashtag void the season. You can't argue with somebody who's working in the NHS when they say that. But all I would say, Shawnee, is that there has to be a plan to return. It's not, I don't think this is, obviously football clubs want to return because there is a money element to it, and the government have come out and they've said that for public morale, it will be good to get football back. And I note that they've said that in Germany, that, Chancellor Merkel's come out as one of the reasons she cited for trying to get the football back is that she thinks it would be good for morale to have football back. So there is an importance, and it's not just football, it's a lot of sport in general. But I hear you on that, Shawnee, but there has to be a plan to try and get us back to normal, and you would have seen things that we haven't seen, and I know the hard work that you guys are doing, but there has to be a plan to get out of this. Carlos says the possibility of fans returning to football matches will be in October, according to this 5-step plan due to be announced by Boris, apparently. So we'll see that. Andrew Scarborough says we will get the virus at some point, and many who already had it are asymptomatic. That's it. Until we have enough tests, which that's the thing that we don't. I mean, Germany is so far ahead of us. We've been so poor in sorting this out. We've got to be real. But we can't look at that. That's for later in looking back and seeing how we dealt with it. But we have to have plans to try and get out of this. And it is going to have to be before we get a vaccine, because that's still quite far away. Robert says, I want Ramsey back. I miss him. Quan says, I'm from China. Trust me, the season needs to be void. Life is more important. So that's somebody who's coming from China, who, of course, they were the first country to have it. Andrew Chow says, morning, Robbie. If the Premier League season does resume, would you do fan cams by going outside? I've been asked this already by many people. By going outside grounds, or doing it from home, assuming games are played behind closed doors. We do have a plan for it. I can't really talk about what that plan is. We do have a plan for it. But, of course, our plans really does depend upon what happens. So we're, just like everybody else, we're watching closely what is happening. But we do have a plan for if it's behind closed doors. We've got about 3-4 different plans. It all depends what's going to happen. And at the moment, nobody knows how. We know that if it does return, it will be behind closed doors. But we don't know what the rules and laws are going to be around it. And until we know that, I can't really answer that question. But we are definitely looking at how we approach it, should I say. Pi says, Robbie, come on, tell us the plan. No. You'll find out that, listen, we've got, honest to God, there's several plans around it, because, as I said, nobody knows yet what's going to happen. Nobody knows. Andrew said, if the Premier League continues with games behind closed doors, there's a possibility that the big teams will get better results because of the rest of the clubs won't have their supporters backing. Now, there's a lot of clubs down towards the bottom end of the league that are very unhappy about the neutral grounds and stuff like that. I agree with what Chris Hudson said last night. They have to just get real and understand that these are exceptional circumstances. Nobody wants to play at neutral grounds. But if that's how we get it sorted and get the season finished, that's how we're going to have to do it. People need to wake up here and understand. Some of these football clubs moaning about this and moaning about that. They need to understand that we're in the midst of a coronavirus. We've not seen a virus like this for over 100 years. The last the last big virus, Spanish flu, that was in the early 19th century. This is something very serious, and it would help clubs to get the league finished financially. So they've got to find a way to do it, but they can't just keep moaning at everything and saying, oh, why we got to do that? Oh, this ground. It'd be the same for every team, wouldn't it? Every team's you're not going to have the support of your home fans. It's just how it is, for every team. It's all the same for every single team. AA says Walmart is the Tesco, of course. I think is the US Tesco. Of course, profits have increased with what's going on. The Kroenke family have money. Please invest some into the club. It's his wife who's the heiress to Walmart. He doesn't actually own that. That's his wife's side of things. I suppose he could, check his missus and say, but he's worth more than his missus anyway. He's worth more than her, so he shouldn't have to check her. But hey, who knows, man? Who knows? certainly a lot of you guys are thinking he's got, I can tell by the comments there, you're not buying this. You think he's got a lot of money in his back pocket, and he could be reaching out and, you know, spending some of that. Under Chengi's under thing, Ishlan says, under is a B-Tech Mkhitaryan. Might as well just sell Mickey for 10 to 15 million and invest somewhere. Well, as I said, Mkhitaryan, you know, they're talking about in Roma, they'll buy him, but they pay part of, Arsenal pay part of his wages. Anthony Taylor says Dangote should buy now. He will invest in the club. Well, listen, I think a lot of people would like to see that, but again, you know, manager has to, the owner has to want to sell. Dado Jr. with a super chat here says, Robbie, you can't play on neutral grounds. The season didn't start that way. You just can't. Yeah, it is special. Yes, it is special, and there won't be fans, but a home pitch has an advantage. This ain't Sunday League. But what? All right, what do we do? This is an unusual circumstance. If they don't finish the leagues, some of these teams that are down the bottom on lower budgets are the teams that are going to suffer the most. Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea's, you know, Man City. These clubs will survive this. It's going to be tough for every club, Liverpool, all these, but they'll survive it. Some of them clubs down the bottom where the budgets are less, this could set them back for years, if not send them to the brink. Get the league finished. Stop moaning about neutral grounds. Yes, it didn't start on a neutral ground, but it didn't start when the coronavirus was around either. We've got to adapt and bring in some things that we can get the whole thing done if we can safely. If we can't do it safely, I agree with you. You void the season. There's nobody goes down. There's nobody wins it. I've said that from the beginning, but I would like to see it finish. And if it can be finished, find a way. Find a way to finish it that is fair to everybody. And if everybody's got to pay on neutral grounds, you know, that's fair on everybody, isn't it? That's not disadvantaging anybody. Danos doesn't agree. He's come back again. He says the integrity of the season is gone. You just can't change the rules. Yes, it is unusual, but you can't change the rules mid-season regardless of the circumstance. Rules are rules. I don't agree. I think that, you know, that with what is going on, it's exceptional times. And nobody wants to change it, and they're working with everybody to find a way to try and change it. And it's going to be a disadvantage, but I'm sorry, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. But how else do we get it done? You know what I mean? So, you know, and as I said, some of those clubs that are moaning about it, you know, like Brighton and those clubs, they're the clubs that, you know, will be hit the hardest by this if they, you know, if they don't get the TV money. Ron says, even though he says, yes, I'd love to see football back again. Of course I would. If games are played behind closed doors, no matter where they decide to play the remaining games, it is inevitable that some fans will ignore the travel bans and congregate outside stadiums. This adds to more police and security to try and disperse the crowd, leading to possible fracas, not only with the police and security, but also opposing fans. Last but not least, the most important point is still the possibility of spread. That's true. There's still the possibility of spread. There is that, you know, people might try and come. You just got to try and trust people and make sure that, you know, people are sensible enough to know that you can't do that, you know? So, you know, and final comment of the day is a really funny one. This one, it comes from Joey AFC Large. He says, sell Mickey to Walmart. That's a good one. Listen, thank you very much for today. Thanks for watching the show. We will be back later on this evening with the evening version of the AFTV News Daily. So make sure you keep it locked here. Really enjoyed talking to you guys. Beautiful weather over in the UK. Wherever you are in the world, have yourself a great day.